Hey guys, it's me, Whitney. I'm doing this video because it's the day after his verdict on Trayvon Martin versus Zimmerman, or the state versus Zimmerman. And I mean, I know, I know a lot of people are just like totally flabbergasted at the not guilty verdict on both the murder two charges and the manslaughter. And I feel the same way. Again, I don't think this was justice served, but I think this was justice under the law served with us being tried by our, a peer, a jury of our peers. And there, it's not equality. And anybody who would say that this is equality is completely misled. The fact that Michael Vick can get 2 years in jail for dog fighting, and a man who shot and killed an unarmed 17-year-old boy who was just minding his own business, um, is completely kind of diluted. I believe is completely diluted. You know. Now, I wasn't surprised by the not guilty verdict, and it's not because I think it was so much about race, although I do think race plays a part in it. Mark O'Mara, or whatever the attorney that was on Zimmerman's side was Don West. I think his remark that if it was a black man, if Zimmerman was a black man, he wouldn't have been what did he say? He said he wouldn't have been charged or something. He wouldn't have been arrested. That is a complete no. He wouldn't have been no. He wouldn't have had all the media attention in regards to his race. No, he wouldn't have had that attention. But he would have been in jail the same night that action had occurred. The same night the shooting had occurred, he would have been in jail, regardless of whether he claimed self-defense or not. He would have been in jail because they would have realized the fact that he shot somebody who was unarmed, and regardless of whether it was self-defense, he would have been in jail. He would have been they would have all those tests that were done that Zimmerman did not get, and it would have been, yeah, he would have been arrested. That was just it. He would have been charged, and they would have find out, and they would have tried to figure out whether it was self-defense after. They would have assumed that was self-defense beforehand and not charged him for days on end, as they did with Zimmerman in this case. So that's where the race played, and that's something that doesn't necessarily have to be done. That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Zimmerman in his trial. That's with the state and the Stanford Police Department and their action. So that's where race played it, Mr. O'Mara, and anybody else who was on Zimmerman's side who feels like this was profiling, this was like a civil rights thing, and people were trying to do it into like a race issue. Yes, it was a race issue in the way that justice um, was brought about in the beginning, the way that everybody was looking at Zimmerman in the beginning. If it was a black man, he would have been arrested and held in jail the same night, the same day, regardless of whether he claimed self-defense or not. It would have been up to him to prove it later on. But Zimmerman was given the benefit of the doubt. That's the issue here. Zimmerman was given the benefit of the doubt before they even had evidence to support him. That's where race plays it. Now, in terms of the trial, I think the prosecution. Everybody says they had a hard time. They had a hard case to prove. You know, the burden of proof was with the prosecutors. I think they went about trying the whole trial, trying Zimmerman completely wrong. Murder too, I understand their sentiments in trying to do that. Was they couldn't. The problem is you can't prove intent and malice in the court of law, regardless of whether you can't prove that Zimmerman was a racist or that you can't prove that. But what you can prove is negligence. Why? After saying that you were in a touchy situation, you were in your car, this guy is circling you, you're saying this young boy is circling your car, Trayvon's circling your car, making you fearful, he's reaching into his pocket, he's doing some stuff that's making you uncomfortable and making you feel unsafe. Would you then walk out of your car and, especially since there was just too many things that he was negligent about, and that would have, if they had concentrated more of their time on the manslaughter charge and the fact that Zimmerman was negligent. This was a negligent crime. This was a murder that happened because of negligence. It was manslaughter. They would have gotten it, but because they were rolling on this emotional they were rolling on the emotional aspects of it, that in our community that's what we were rolling on. This is murder. This is murder. But the court of law does not just define murder as one thing. They have different categories: murder one, murder two, murder three, manslaughter one. There's just so many categories. And if you really want justice, you have to be specific and go by the court of law. You can't just go by emotions. And what I think with this trial, there was a lot of emotions going into it. If the prosecutors had focused on manslaughter and the fact that Zimmerman acted negligently, which resulted in an innocent life being taken away, they would have gotten that charge. There would have been no way to prove. There would have been no doubt in their mind that he did act negligently. They had a group of women in there who, yes, they have children and who understand being negligent when you're not being responsible. Zimmerman was not responsible, and that's something they could have proved, that he was not being responsible. As a person who was basically the head of their neighborhood watch, there are rules and regulations that he was aware of, that he discusses with his people and anybody who would want to be in the neighborhood watch. And he did not even take that counsel. Strike one. He noticed that the guy was out there acting supposedly weird, and he knowing he has his gun, he cannot say he forgot he had his gun around his waistband, decides to be a vigilante, which is what he did, being negligent, not letting the police do their job, went out, regardless of whether he was looking for him or not, he put himself in a position, and he was negligent. You have vehicular manslaughter, you have all these types of things that could cause somebody to die, but you are still at fault because you were negligent. Just like if you are a company or somebody who has a house and you have it so that the ill repair in your home causes somebody else to die, you will be punished for that because it's your negligence that resulted in somebody else's harm. And so that's the my issue with the whole trial. It's not to say I don't think that Zimmerman did profile him, but I think that's something that would be way harder for them to prove in the court of law, because they're gonna, of course, go reasonable doubt, reasonable doubt. These jurors don't know that reasonable doubt doesn't really. Anybody can have reasonable doubt about anything. There's hundreds. Have you heard of the Innocence Project? I mean, these people were put in jail due to circumstantial evidence, and yes, it's all about reasonable doubt. The people who put them in jail didn't have any reasonable doubt, but come to find out, DNA evidence shows that they're innocent. So when a lot of people, before they go to jail, because they don't know the law as clearly, they don't understand what reasonable doubt is. So I think this is something that we can lay on the prosecutor's head in terms of how they did the trial. This is just an experience for them. They'll learn for future reference, not to be overzealous, because they were just as overzealous as Zimmerman in this case. They were really wanting that murder 2 trial, but that was for, I think, sparks and pizzazz. I think they really should have concentrated on manslaughter. And another thing is, I think we're just going to have to look to the civil case for justice here, because we're not going to get it in the criminal, with the criminal. It's just, that's gone and done with. And that's how I feel. So if you guys have like any opinions or any thoughts on this, I'm not a lawyer or attorney, so this is just my opinion from what I know and what I've read and what I've heard. So of course, take it with a grain of salt, but give me your 2 cents or 50 cents of it. And yeah, leave your comments down below or tweet me, whatnot. I just think we should just pray for the family, and God bless Trayvon Martin and the Martin family. And this is just a sad occurrence. And for anybody who doesn't think it was doesn't have a racial undertone, I want you to really, really think about it. If it was a 17-year-old white kid who has the same background, because Trayvon doesn't, yes, he watched videos of people getting in fights and he was suspended outside school. He's a 17-year-old. Like, give him some slack. I was in high school, okay? Like, the fact that people are saying, oh, the black community is trying to paint him like a choir boy. They're painting him like a 17-year-old boy. To you, that maybe require him to be a choir boy, because, he can't have the same 17-year-old tendencies as a white kid. A black person has to have the expectation of a black kid have to be way higher. You can't be doing drugs. But white kid who's has marijuana in his system, who gets shot by a black man for no reason while he has a Skittles in his iced tea, that would have yeah, it wouldn't have been in the news because of course the black man would have gone to jail and been charged in a trial regardless of whether what if it was innocent or not. The fact is that people really, this became a media frenzy because the way the police department reacted, they gave this person who shot this unarmed person the benefit of the doubt of being not guilty beforehand, before a trial even occurred. That's the issue. That's the race issue there. And so for a lot of people, I think, who are like on Fox News, these guys who are talking, like need to really think of it on that in that terms. And I hope somebody who's like a correspondent, a legal analyst, who ends up being on one of those shows, because I really think Fox is just a they're a spin. They spin everything. It's just for fun and like get some attention. Yeah, they really need somebody. I really want somebody to who can represent this to articulate what I'm saying right now in a great form. But that's it. I actually went longer than I expected, but that's my point. Um, yeah, I'm trying to see if I have anything else to say. I don't. So peace.